Well, hello, free people of the Rocky Mountain region. This is Brandon from Free State, Colorado, and I hope you're doing well. This is one of the bigger news stories in Denver right now, and I really want to make sure you saw it. And I think this is an interesting, really interesting thing that's happening. We actually have an opportunity here for people on the left and people on the right to unite over pushing back against a surveillance state. And I know you might have mixed feelings on that, but let's just take a look and see what's going on here. So, this is a Denver Post article here. Mayor extends Denver's contract with Flock license plate readers without council approval. So, right there's one reason to oppose it. You got the mayor arming the city of Denver to push this through, even though the council doesn't want it. So, this is from October 22nd, 2025. Mayor Mike Johnston's office is extending Denver's contract with Flock, a company that operates AI powered license plate readers throughout the city, for 5 months without any additional cost, circumventing the need for a vote by the city council. In May, the council unanimously voted against a contract to extend the camera system over concerns that the technology is creating a surveillance network ripe for abuse. But Johnston's office opted not to take the cameras down, then extend the contract through October without council approval. So, I mean, that's a problem right there, folks. We're supposed to have a representative government. This should be red flag for anybody. If you see that the elected officials, the elected representatives of the people, the city council members unanimously oppose this and the mayor figures out a way to get past them and get it enacted anyway, that's something that should raise alarm bells right off the bat. So it's pretty interesting stuff here. Now, don't get me wrong, there's going to be people watching this, I'm sure, and people out there who say, "Well, these cameras are arresting people. They're getting criminals off the streets, they're catching stolen cars, they're doing some great things." Sure, don't get me wrong, Denver has a huge crime problem, but as somebody points out here, we'll see their tweet. If Denver enforced the actual crimes like they're supposed to, we wouldn't necessarily need this flock system. So, I hate to sound conspiratorial here, but you have a big problem with crime. You kind of create this problem. You allow this problem to fester. You come in with the solution, which is this AI surveillance state that's going to track everybody's movement, track everybody's license plate, do facial recognition potentially. And that's the solution maybe they're trying to get at by letting the crime get out of control. It might sound a little crazy saying that's exactly the fact, but nonetheless, I think it's pretty interesting. Now, of course, one of the big key factors here is that Denver City Council, a lot of Democratic majority there. Part of the reason they're so opposed to these flock cameras is because these cameras have been used, the data has been given to ICE, to U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement for their deportation efforts. So the City Council did change that. But nonetheless, I still think it's probably a bad idea overall. Now, this is what's kind of interesting here. After the council rejected the proposal, Johnston's office approved a new contract with Flock over the summer for just under $500,000, which is the threshold required for council approval. That extension ends this month. The new extension will have no cost. So you see what he did there? If it was over $500,000, then the council would have to approve it. The mayor couldn't get it on its own. So they said, well, let's rework the contract. Let's get it right under the $500,000 mark and push it through anyway. Crazy. Councilwoman Sarah Parody, one of the council's most vocal opponents of Flock, said Wednesday she was stunned to learn of the latest contract extension. This company is dishonest, motivated primarily by the profit potential that comes with aggregation of data and has no place in our city. Flock's mass surveillance system remains incredibly dangerous for Denver, regardless of this belated step. So I think it's pretty interesting. I think it's not a great thing. We see ATF, no fan on the conservative side of the ATF, getting some of this data, using this information. We see other people in the immigration community, of course, but nonetheless, pretty interesting stuff. This is a more recent article here. Denverites demand removal, bagging of license plate readers after mayor's contract extension. A town hall was held the same day Mayor Mike Johnston announced new privacy protections for the cameras, stating that only Denver police officers can access the data. On the same day that Denver Mayor Mike Johnston announced a 5-month extension of the city's contract with license plate camera maker Flock Group Incorporated, community members demanded their removal from intersections across Denver. Flock cameras were installed in Denver in May 2024, and there are now more than 100 cameras mounted at 70 intersections across the city. The Denver Police Department has credited the license plate readers for hundreds of arrests and recovered stolen vehicles, as well as the recovery of dozens of firearms. But at a packed community meeting Wednesday night, residents called for the city to deflock Denver and for the mayor to include the community in conversations about the future of the camera. camera system there. So interesting stuff. I'll have all the links at Free State Colorado, of course. I wanted to get through some of this. This is back from May, the article there where Denver City Council says, hey, we're not going to extend the contract on a 12-0 vote, totally unanimous. And then, of course, the mayor comes in and does it anyway. It would have been a $666,000 agreement, and then they reworked that agreement to get under that $500,000 threshold just to circumvent city council. So there's a lot going on here, folks. Definitely do not take what they're saying at face value. I think there's some serious concerns. And I want to share some of the feedback, some of the comments from people I know, people on the other side of the aisle, maybe, and kind of show you that this is really a bipartisan or nonpartisan, really issue that people should be concerned about. So this is Gen X Den, who does incredible reporting, posting about what's going on down in Denver. She said, Councilwoman Parody just sent out a scathing email about Denver's continued use of flock cameras and data sharing with ICE. The decision to support Denver's shift to the anti-liberty surveillance state was just fine with council until the tool was turned on people here illegally. Yep. Our concerns about flock data being used by the catch car thieves narrative fell on deaf ears. Where was her coalition of 17 of Denver's fiercest civil rights and advocacy organizations when this contract was first sought and approved? This kind of state-supported constant recorded surveillance of our movements has no place in a free society, and I do agree with that. Is leaning into the surveillance state a factor in the mayor's nomination of Mr. IT to helm the Department of Safety? So interesting stuff there. She continues here, some of the highlights from the email. You can definitely read that yourself. Like I said, I always like to have everything linked at Free State. Ashley Troxel here says, if Denver enforced existing laws, we wouldn't need Flock's 1984-esque AI surveillance to stop actual criminals. How true is that? People showed up like crazy at the town hall meeting. The Party for Socialism and Liberation. I don't agree with them on 99% of everything, but they are posting here. Hundreds packed tonight's Flock Town Hall in Denver after the mayor secretly renewed the city's Flock surveillance contract this morning without any public process nor city council vote. Denver says no to Flock. And I mean, it is pretty incredible to see just how many people showed up, how many people were involved, how much people from across the community are coming together across the political spectrum to really say, hey, is this really what we want in our society? Is a massive surveillance system run by these big companies, tracking everything we do, tracking every movement we make, and recording it, using AI to analyze it. I mean, you got to think about COVID, folks. You got to think about the weaponization of the federal government, the FBI, federal law enforcement by the Biden administration. You know, if you're on the conservative side, I think you should definitely have some concerns as well. Lisa for Denver, and I don't agree with Lisa Calderon on anything. But nonetheless, she says here, hundreds demanded turning off flock cameras. Takeaways. Mayor Johnston lied. DPD chief lied. Flock lied. They lied about mass surveillance data was safe from ICE and Texas abortion trackers. It wasn't. They lied they had safeguards. They didn't. Our privacy and public trust isn't for sale. So I do think it is interesting, you know, not to beat a dead horse here, but on the left, they're concerned about a certain set of government agencies getting this information, getting this data, tracking our every movement. Then on the right, you know, there's a different set of concerns, but it just goes to show too much government power is ultimately the problem. I mean, this is such a compelling picture here. I don't know if you've ever tried to organize a political event, but to get hundreds of people to show up on a Wednesday night anywhere, you know, it's a big thing. Here's Chainsaw Caucus, which is definitely more on the right. Some friends of mine, Denver's fight against the surveillance state. Last night, hundreds packed a town hall to slam Flock Safety's mass spy cams. Neighborhood organizations, ACLU, immigrants' rights groups, united in fury. These solar-powered Big Brother eyes scan 2 million plates per month, feeding data to ICE, 1,400 plus hits, and a national network without our consent. Privacy gone. Fourth Amendment shredded. Abortion seekers, immigrants, POC, tracked like criminals. Mayor Johnston's sneaky extension. Guardrails my foot. $100,000 fines won't stop the Fed overreach. We're happy. We all agree that Flock is Big Brother surveillance state garbage. So interesting stuff of people coming together on both sides of the aisle there, the right and the left. Forest Mommy had a great one here. Forest Mommy just hit 50,000 followers on X, by the way. Congrats to her. She said Denver lefties were fine with flock cameras until they were used by ICE. LOL. And that's true. You know, it's pretty interesting to see. Then we have Break the Chains Media, who is down there. Mayor Mike Johnston went against the will of the people in a 12-0 Denver City Council rejection of flock AI technocratic surveillance. He skirted the legal requirements by lowering the cost to just under $500,000. Tonight, he was on the scene reporting. So he was at that town hall. You can actually watch the live stream. Pretty interesting stuff if you're interested. He recorded it, and yeah, very interesting to see so many people in the community show up and get involved with this. But it's part of this bigger picture, right? What do you think about drones? Drones from Flock, also cameras, AI surveillance, drones flying over our neighborhoods, keeping an eye on things, maybe looking in your backyard. You know, you got to think, folks. We went through COVID. We went through a lot. The government's capable of doing a lot of bad things. I think that's reason enough to say that this is not the proper role of government. So, this is an article here from October 16th, 2025, Denver 7. As more Colorado police departments adopt the use of drones as a first responder tool, some community groups are raising concerns about privacy and equity. With Flock and other surveillance mechanisms, they do have a benefit for the community. We think that the over surveillance of the community ultimately is negative. And just this idea of maybe drones flying around with cameras, keeping an eye on people, looking at your license plates. I mean, it's very easy to see how that information, that data could be weaponized. And like people are saying, this data could be for sale. All of a sudden you have political opponents getting it. You have other people out there getting this information. And it's pretty interesting to see Mike Johnston. He's tied into so many of these very wealthy people like Reid Hoffman, who started LinkedIn, and other people out there who are kind of behind his mayoral office there. But could Denver harness AI to renew trust in government? Mayor Mike Johnston thinks so, but others are skeptical. So it's part of this bigger picture, of course, of having this, for lack of a better word, technocratic system where we're basically monitored, eyes are kept on everything. And don't get me wrong, it's not a bad idea to use technology to its best purposes, but ultimately, what happens when this technology is abused? We know the nature of government. We know these politicians. Just think of all these far left legislators down in Denver. We don't want them to have any of these types of power or systems over us, or the governor or the mayor, or attorney general for that matter. But really, thank you for joining me. Just want to do a quick little video here. Make sure you are informed on this issue. Links at freestatecolorado.com. But I really appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon.